and just stood there. His name is Tony Allison, but on this day, he insisted that everybody, including the police, refer to him as Apollo, and it all started with him doing nothing. Yeah, it didn't actually start with that 911 call. That was fake. Surprise. It was actually an off-duty police officer, and he was alerted about a man in camo pants and a leather jacket that was quote-unquote disturbing. So this off-duty police officer decides to follow him from Pike's Place Market to the corner of 2nd and Pike. Bro, you're off-duty. Try hard much? Anyways, this is where you see him in the video. Now, Apollo was suspicious of this guy following him, and rightfully so. I would be as well. So he took what the cop describes as a defensive stance with his sword at the ready, which is understandable in a defense situation like this. But sadly, that was enough for the off-duty cop to call his buddies, and they would remain in that same location for the next 11 hours. They closed all the stores, evacuated everybody, shut down all the streets, caused traffic jams. In case you guys are wondering whether he's actually dangerous with a sword, the news report made sure to seek out a trustworthy source.
So the man confirms authorities' worst fears.
Yeah, he knows how to use the sword.
When the cops got there, apparently they tried to bribe the samurai sword out of his hand with a glorious sum of $50. I want you to take one look at this guy and guess how he responded.
Defensive stance.
No, but actually, verbally, he didn't say anything for the entire 11-hour standoff, except mentioning he had brothers in China and Russia, and correcting police officers when they wouldn't refer to him as Apollo. He also said that he was possessed by demons and wanted to kill them.
He talked about Satan. He talked about his brothers in Russia and China, but he never really engaged the negotiator.
But yeah, he just refused to drop the sword. I don't know, I couldn't imagine why. However, the police did not give up here. They went back to the drawing board and came up with another offer. I can't make this shit.
It's your McDonald's Big Mac. You've got to taste.
They offered him a Big Mac. No, I'm serious, this is real. They offered him McDonald's. Targeted. Then they assumed since he was unmoved by this, he must have a mental health history. So they tried triggering schizophrenic urges. Of course, he was unmoved by these childish tricks and continued to stand his ground. So the police weren't sure what to do next. Since he wasn't attacking anybody, they had to get the sword out of his hand. They thought about throwing a net over him. They shot him with tranquilizer darts, which had no effect. They also shot him with those riot pellets, those little beanbags. Now, I don't know if you guys remember that scene in Jackass where they shot Johnny Knoxville with one of these things.
It's considered less lethal.
He was on the ground panting for like 20 minutes. Look, he just shrugs it off. Anyways, 2 unfair nut shots later, he was still standing.
But he endures round after round and shows no sign of surrender.
So then they decided the best route to take is to tear gas him.
The man shakes off the tear gas with almost superhuman strength.
Spray him with a fire hose,
hoping that he will lose his grip on the sword. When that doesn't work, they turn the water pressure up, full blast,
and then pin him down with a ladder.
Those guys went down by the book, exactly what they were supposed to do.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm pretty sure this is the definition of by the book, actually. Now, when you look at this from the outside, who is in the wrong here?
Guns with special beanbags that strike with the same impact as a heavyweight boxer's punch.
Chemical agents, or tear gas, makes the suspect very uncomfortable. Burns his eyes, burns his skin, and it makes it difficult for him to breathe.
The jets of water pack the force of a hurricane wind. Then, in a highly orchestrated maneuver, police pin the suspect down with a ladder, pole, and riot shield.
By the book, exactly what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. You guys don't want to know my opinion. What do you guys think? Would you consider this excessive force? Let me know in the comments. You might think this man's had enough. But the tragedy of Tony Apollo Allison's story is not done. As it turns out, only a year prior to the sword incident, Tony Apollo Allison was released from Western State Hospital after finishing a 10-year sentence from a charge in which he pled not guilty due to insanity, a charge of second-degree assault with intent to rape. Before this incident, he was an alcoholic, wandering the streets with a sword on his back, and now he's a man with his name engraved in history. He was later sent back to Western State Hospital. However, his current whereabouts are unknown. Until now. In a twist of events, I think I might have just found him, or at least some potential evidence he's still out protecting the city. Back in 2021, a dad was with his son at Bitter Lake Playfield, and while passing by a homeless encampment, spotted this distinct shiny object sticking out of the debris. Now, the location of this park happens to be about 50 miles away from Western State Hospital, or a mere 8.2 miles away from where this whole thing began. Now, due to Apollo's story being very old and many news sources doing very minuscule amounts of deep diving and just very
By the book, exactly what they were supposed to do.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm pretty sure this is the definition of by the book, actually. Now, when you look at this from the outside, who is in the wrong here?
Guns with special bean bags that strike with the same impact as a heavyweight boxer's punch.
Chemical agents or tear gas makes the suspect very uncomfortable. Burns his eyes, burns his skin, and it makes it difficult for him to breathe.
The jets of water pack the force of a hurricane wind. Then, in a highly orchestrated maneuver, police...
Of course, he was unmoved by these childish tricks and continued to stand his ground. So the police weren't sure what to do next. Since he wasn't attacking anybody, they had to get the sword out of his hand. They thought about throwing a net over him. They shot him with tranquilizer darts, which had no effect. They also shot him with those riot pellets, those little beanbags. Now, I don't know if you guys remember that scene in Jackass where they shot Johnny Knoxville with one of these things.
It's considered less lethal.
He was on the ground panting for like 20 minutes. Look, he just shrugs it off. Anyways, 2 unfair nut shots later, he was still standing.
As pessoas... Nunca trabalhei, mas tenho certeza que faz mal para a população. Tenho certeza que faz mal para a população.
Desculpa,
eu acho que atrapalha. Quando eu estiver falando, você não me interrompe. Quando você estiver falando, eu não te interrompo. Pode ser? Vamos. Então vamos lá.
Estamos rebatendo, estamos debatendo ali a câmera.
A reincidência de menores de idade quando vão pra FEBEM, ela é muito alta. É muito alto por um simpris motivo.
E pessoas adultas
acabei de falar, eu acabei de falar. Lula traiu os seus eleitores. Meu Deus do céu.
Nada que você faça sem meu apoio, desculpa.
Mas você falou, cara,
nada que você faça.
Mas você é reconhecido internacionalmente como um bando de vagabundo que deveria estar tudo na cadeia. É uma organização criminosa. Deveria ter tipificado como organização o deputado Guto Zacarias, coordenador do MBL. E hoje eu estou cercado de 20 esquerdistas. Vamos debater alguns assuntos pertinentes. Bom, para a nossa primeira questão, a escala 6x1 deve ser mantida. Quem quer discutir isso aí? Pode ir. Vai liberada. Vamos dar o start aí. Bom, primeiramente, bom dia. Sou o Guto. Como é seu nome?
Renata Rangel.
Renata Rangel, você é filiado a algum partido?
PT.
Filiado ao PT? Já disputou a eleição pelo PT?
A vereadora, recentemente.
Quantos votos você fez? Aqui, qual cidade?
Não, Caxias.
Duque de Caxias.
Sem verba, 93 votos, uma campanha única.
Difícil fazer campanha no Brasil, né, Renata?
Ainda mais com a venda de votos.
Com certeza. Inclusive, enfim, mas a gente deixa essa discussão para uma outra história. Vamos lá. Essa pauta que a gente está discutindo é uma pauta que ganhou debate público nos últimos dias, né, nas últimas semanas. Talvez a maior pauta da política brasileira no pós-eleição foi uma PEC da deputada do PSOL, a Erika Hilton, do Estado de São Paulo, que ela queria basicamente proibir a escala 6x1. E no projeto dela, que é um projeto como vários projetos que ela faz, cheio de erros, inclusive tem um erro matemático no projeto, que confunde as horas trabalhadas, ela, além de proibir a escala 6x1, ela também coloca como obrigatória a escala 4x3. Se você quiser trabalhar não a escala 6x1, mas de outra escala, se essa PEC fosse aprovada, ela seria proibida, né? Mas a escala 6x1 pra mim deve ser mantida por quê? Porque a produtividade do brasileiro hoje é muito baixa. Um dado muito importante que eu gosto de provar é que os Estados Unidos não é dos países mais produtivos do mundo. Tem produtividade alta, mas não é dos mais produtivos do mundo. Um trabalhador americano tem a produtividade de 4 trabalhadores brasileiros. O que a gente tem que fazer urgentemente é aumentar a produtividade do brasileiro para que ele possa.
Nós nunca estivemos tão perto de uma terceira guerra mundial. Anote aquilo que eu tô falando, porque eu não falo de maneira leviana. Eu nunca cheguei aqui no canal e falei, nós estamos próximos do fim, agora o apocalipse vai chegar, o fim do mundo. Nunca falei esse tipo de coisa. Mas agora, de fato, nunca estivemos tão próximos de um conflito em uma escala global. Eu acredito que esse conflito acontecerá ainda nos próximos 10 anos. Talvez quando Donald Trump sair da presidência da República, ou até mesmo enquanto ele estiver lá. O inimigo do mundo livre vai se armar de uma maneira tal que nós vamos sucumbir debaixo de uma guerra de proporções inimagináveis. O que nós estamos vendo agora, para aqueles que têm 2 neurônios, é uma deteriorização total do Ocidente. Donald Trump, ele começa uma guerra comercial com seus aliados históricos, Canadá, México, Europa, Brasil, países da América Latina, e ninguém se contrapõe a isso. Pelo contrário, aqueles que tiveram a lavagem cerebral completa, concluída, eles aplaudem. Enquanto isso, quem sai fortalecido? Os inimigos do mundo livre, principalmente Vladimir Putin. Ele diz também que não vai mandar ajuda militar à Ucrânia, forçando um acordo de paz que é vergonhoso. É dividir as riquezas entre Estados Unidos e Rússia, fortalecer a Rússia para que posteriormente invada a Polônia ou qualquer estado europeu de uma maneira total. O que nós estamos vendo é realmente
This guy may look gentle, but he actually took 61 lives. He is the most famous chessboard killer in Russian history, and he used to kill people simply for fun. However, such a cruel criminal even complained. He is the most famous chessboard killer in Russian history, and he used to kill people simply for fun. However, such a cruel criminal even complained that he couldn't stand it after a few days in this prison. He even said to the prison guard that he would rather die than be imprisoned here for life. So how cruel is this prison in Russia? The Polar Owl. Prison is located in a wasteland 2,500 kilometers north of Moscow. It is close to the Arctic Circle, with an average temperature of minus 50 degrees, making it an excellent place to hold felons. It is covered with ice and snow all year round, and has very harsh weather conditions. There are no signs of humans there, not even a polar bear. There are no roads or routes. Prisoners have to travel 2,433 kilometers by train for 2 days and 1 night to the nearest train station to this prison, and then take a 20-hour hovercraft ride to reach this prison. Although it's a long way to travel, it will be worth it, because once in this prison, they are going to stay there for the rest of their lives, with absolutely no possibility of escape or bail. This is the first time that the Polar Owl prison allows foreign reporters to take videos. As one of the highest security prisons in Russia, it has a superior geographical environment, as well as well-developed hardware facilities. The prison is surrounded by 5 iron fences, with 10 guards patrolling in shifts 24 hours a day, and 20 Caucasian Shepherd dogs on standby. The Caucasian Shepherd dog is the largest existing dog breed, and one of the 10 most ferocious dogs in the world. It stands nearly 1.8